At 10:25 tonight here on BBC One, Danny Glover, Brad Johnson and Willem Dafoe star as hotshot Navy pilots trying to make sense of the Vietnam conflict in the movie adventure Flight of the Intruder. Before that, Michael Burke with more astonishing true stories in 999.
All of tonight's rescues are true stories. We've sometimes used actors or stuntmen, but everything you see and hear is based on the accounts of the people involved. They've helped us to reconstruct events as they happened. Tonight on 999, a bubble in the brain makes the diver blind and paralysed. Will the life chamber save her? Living on air, how a driver survived the crash that should have killed him. And a baby whale trapped among the rocks, how a whole community pulled together to set it free. This is Stony Cove in Leicester, a quarry that's been flooded to make an inland diving site, ideal for training. A man-made lake, 136 feet deep in places, and down there's a bus, a helicopter, a Land Rover, an aircraft cockpit, and loads of other unusual things to explore, making it a kind of underwater playground. And if things go wrong, then Stony Cove also has a piece of equipment that can be a real lifesaver. This recompression chamber certainly made the difference between life and death for Tricia Worsley, a novice diver who wrote to us about her terrifying accident and the 39 hours that she spent in here. In this reconstruction, Tricia is played by an actress, but everybody who helped in the rescue takes part as themselves.
Trish had great ambitions for diving. She wanted to open her own school, become an instructor and take it a lot further than most divers.
All she lived for at that particular time was the diving. She absolutely adored it.
I've been involved in the diving business for 25 years and this is the worst accident I've ever seen.
Yeah, great. Listen, I've done that. Good. Yeah, I've got to do a 20-metre qualifying dive, so...
I just loved it because I loved the water. I've always taught swimming, I've always lifeguarded, done life-saving, and I just wanted to take diving up.
Okay, what we can do then, go down past the cockpit. You haven't been there. Needed a 20-metre dive for a logbook as a sports diver, and the idea was to take it down onto a ledge that is approximately 20 metres. Yep. It's the first dive to that depth. And the ledge.
Great.
Yeah?
Can't wait.
No problem.
Frank and I were kitting up ready for the dive, and my demand valve was sticking.
Not right.
And it just wasn't getting air out of it at all. It wasn't right. I wasn't happy. So we went off to the shop to get it checked out.
Hi, Steve. Just check this out for a minute.
Yeah, sure,
right.
no problem.
It's sticking a bit, yeah.
So I took it all apart and loosened it all, sorted it all out, put it back together. And we went back into the water again and went down.
Yep, it's fine now. Great, let's get on with it.
Tricia's confidence in her gear was to be short-lived.
We entered the water, went down to 4 metres, and carried on down past the remains of a plane in the cove. Got to 20 metres and exchanged OK signals, everything was fine.
We hadn't really done a lot, we hadn't really got anywhere or done anything, and then things started going wrong. My demand valve was packed up, there was just no air at all coming out of it whatsoever. So I can remember trying to sort myself out and get air into my life jacket and try and breathe off that, and everything I did didn't work. Everything went wrong.
It was then you could see that her eyes weren't as they should be, they were very dilated. She indicated to me that she was running out of air, which was a signal across her throat.
When you know that everything you're trying isn't working and you're running out of solutions, then things get a bit scary.
I tried to do buddy breathing, which is exchanging my demand valve into her mouth and alternating between the two of us. Trish panicked, and it was obvious the situation she found herself in must have been very frightening. Her life support had just failed. The surface where the air was 20 metres away. There aren't many situations in life that can be this frightening.
I can remember seeing all these bubbles from the air that Frank had given me, and I'd got it in my head, I wanted to do an emergency ascent.
In a panic situation, people become very strong. She pushed past me, knocking my demand valve out of my hand, my mask off my face.
I cracked the bottle on the life jacket to give me some air to start going up.
If you make a fast ascent, you have to breathe out on the way up, otherwise your lungs will burst.
And I'm screaming all the way up. There's just bubbles just coming out all around me, just screaming until I got up to the surface. All I can remember is getting to the surface, and then my life jacket deflated, and I was going back down again. I can remember going back down again, and then really I don't remember a lot about it.
When I got to the surface, there was nobody there. All I could see around me was a series of bubbles. I went back down and found her. She was on her way down, drowning.
Help! Get the boat! We actually saw it. We saw it through the window. She's in trouble. It's as simple as that. You don't come up from that depth and at the speed she did without getting in trouble. The way that we got out there, I think it was the quickest we've ever done it.
Tricia was semi-conscious. The danger was that gases would start to bubble out of her blood like lemonade when the bottle top's unscrewed. There was no time even to get Frank on board as they rushed Tricia to the shore. If any bubbles lodged in Tricia's brain, she could die within seconds. She was in a desperate condition, but at this stage, no one had any idea just how complicated her struggle for life was to become.
I didn't realise at that time it was Trish, and it became quite apparent of the severity of it as we carried her up to the chamber room.
Tell us where, do you know where you are? Do you know where you are, Trish?
When Trish screamed, it was a horrible scream.
I can't see anything.
Come on.
Then we realised the worst. We realised then that she'd got a bubble in her blood.
Come on, let's get her in.
The pain across my back was absolutely excruciating. Everything had just gone very blurred in the room. I'd lost my sight.
Definitely embolised, guys.
I think I can move my legs.
The violent pressure drop as she came up was expanding an air bubble in Tricia's brain, causing blindness and paralysis. The only way they could help her was to use the recompression chamber. By recreating the pressure Tricia had been at underwater, the bubble should shrink, but it was by no means certain she'd regain her sight and movement.
Here we have a diving emergency. We have a young girl that has done an emergency ascent. As soon as the chamber began the recompression, I phoned HMS Vernon. They're naval experts on diving recompression, and they gave us all the advice then that we needed. Deteriorating.
I was filthy, I was wet and cold. It's not a nice thing to be in. It's very, very small, very, very cramped.
It can be very, very warm going down, and when air's coming in to flush through, it's extremely cold. It's two extremes.
It hurts when I breathe in.
Yes, I know it does, my dear. You don't have to go down. That's it.
The chamber was taken to a pressure equivalent to a depth of 165 feet in only 3 minutes.
Not too bad, Alan. She's a little bit down still.
How's she breathing? Is the breathing any better?
The breathing's better.
If there's a mark up there, kind of brown mark.
Alan, I think her sight's back. Yes, there's a mark just there.
The sight came back very, very quickly once they got me down.
Try and follow it. Yes, her eyes are reacting, Alan. We knew we were on a winner then, and we got her back.
Dave, I've just spoken to Vernon. We're going to move from the 165 now. We're going to start our ascent. You've just got to keep an eye on her. Okay,
But as they began to bring her up, things didn't go according to plan.
all was going well until we started our ascent.
She's hyperventilating, Alan.
She's going.
Alan, I think we're going to lose her, mate. She's gone out on me.
Trish relapsed much to our horror. And it was devastating at that point after all we'd gone through with her.
Righto, Dave, we're going to go back down to 165, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, We've gone back down to 165 foot, and to be quite honest, we really need your help now.
I realised it was going to be a marathon stint when Trish relapsed. That's when the reality of it came home. Until she'd relapsed, it was going to be a straightforward recompression that would have lasted for 10 hours.
The naval doctors prescribed a course of steroids, which were rushed to Stony Cove from the local hospital.
The Leicester Flying Squad helped Dave immensely because Dave had never given an injection before.
I once was learned how to give an injection by sticking it into an orange. It came in very handy, but the nurse who actually talked you through it through the little window in the chamber was incredible.
Push the needle into the vein in the direction of the shoulder.
The steroid in this case is actually to prevent swelling. Where you have the bubble lodged in the brain, as Trish did, and you've got to bear in mind she was critically ill. This bubble is actually causing damage to the blood vessel, and so you get a swelling in that area.
Well done, Dave.
Thank you.
Everybody was trying to keep everybody's spirits up. There was a job to be done. The lads outside and you were working 24 hours, on shifts around the clock.
Dave, how you feeling?
We're a bit done in, to be honest with you, but not too bad. We're just doing an hour or two sleep, I think, Alan.
19 hours into the run now, Dave. 19 and a quarter hours.
He was coping very, very well, but he was incredibly tired. I mean, he'd seen Trish really come back and respond well to the treatment, only then to start to slip away from him, of which he did a superb job in getting her back again.
Okay, Trish.
After 24 hours under pressure in the chamber, the steroid treatment was beginning to have an effect. Slowly, the feeling was returning to Tricia's legs.
Try and move them a bit.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit more feeling in them.
Come on, try and move them.
But as Tricia improved, there was now concern for Dave's health.
There you go.
There was a danger, because of the treatment that we'd been giving to Trish, that we could, in actual fact, give Dave a bend when he came out of the chamber. We didn't want to tell him that, because we didn't want him to worry about it.
Dave, you were stay awake, weren't you?
Yeah.
Dave, I knew at this point, he was shattered. I mean, gosh, he hadn't slept at all. And little Andy came in to sit there with us.
Oh, it's really good to see you. Hi, Dave. Here comes the cavalry.
Andy Fraser was sent in to monitor Dave and Tricia during this final critical phase. They'd been in for 31 hours, but their ordeal wasn't over yet.
For the last 8 hours before we actually came out of the chamber, we were on special oxygen masks.
Okay. Come on, won't you?
I couldn't breathe. I didn't have the ability to my body to tell me to do it itself. So Dave just held my hand, and for 8 hours he just kept squeezing it every time I needed to breathe in. I had to physically breathe in and then breathe out, and then he'd squeeze my hand again.
Come on, Dave, you need
What happens is that the carbon dioxide in your body actually is the encouraging factor to make you breathe. And because we were giving Trish pure oxygen, then it was removing this will to breathe.
And there was one point I just, I had enough. It's right doing it. You try doing it for a minute, and I just didn't want to. I just had enough. I just nearly given up.
You come, Mother. Come on. You've come so far. Come on. There's a good girl. Come on. When you were ready to come out, especially the last half hour coming back, that's the longest half hour of your life. But as soon as you hear the door go, it's an incredible feeling.
I can't describe it. There was Trish. I mean, she was dying in front of us when we put her in there.
I put it to the skill of the lads for getting her in the chamber so quick. If she'd have been anywhere else, she'd have been a cabbage, I think, for the rest of her life.
Dave suffered no long-term effects, but hospital tests showed Tricia had burst a lung during her rapid ascent. She'd also damaged the part of her brain that controls body temperature. For Tricia, it confirmed her worst fears.
When I was in the chamber, I just got it in my mind that I was going to carry on diving.
I'll be diving again.
Trish, I don't think you'll be able to dive again, but that is certainly up to the doctors.
I know it's all I've ever wanted to do.
I know it is, madam. No.
I just can't bear it that I can't do it again,
Well, let's see the doctors, though, madam. Let's see the doctors whether you can. That's all right.
I can't do it.
It's all right.
And when I was told I couldn't dive again, I don't know, it just world fell apart to me.
Okay.
It threw everything that I'd planned out the window. So I was very, very bitter and very angry about it.
You're alive, madam. That's most important. When I saw her reaction, all you can do, you can't talk them out of it. All you can give them is just love. It may sound silly, but you've just got to give a lot of love.
Tricia never will be able to dive again, but she stayed in touch with everyone who saved her life.
Dave was incredible. He just treated me like his own daughter, and there's no way he was going to lose me in there. No way. He's going to keep me going. One thing it did do, it frightened me, because very few people have a brush like that with death or whatever you want to call it. You try and look at it and say, well, I'm lucky I did survive. You've got to accept it.
There are only 35 of these recompression chambers in the country, and the fact that Stony Cove had one on site was vital for Tricia's survival. But in an emergency, most people wouldn't be able to get to one in a few minutes. So it's important that divers minimise the risk of an accident by following a few basic rules, and it's important for the rest of us to be able to recognise when a diver is in distress. The British Sub-Aqua Club has this advice, and in a couple of minutes there's a data burst on the same subject.
Plan your dive to suit the least experienced member of your group, then stick to the plan. Tell the Coast Guards about your dive and check the tides and weather. You may have to abandon it if the weather deteriorates, so make sure everyone understands the signal to return to the surface. A dive marshal always stays on the surface. They check safety equipment, but divers must be responsible for their own gear. The marshal will also sort out buddy pairs. Avoid an odd number in your group so that no one dives alone. In buddy diving, you must keep an eye on your partner. If you become separated, search underwater for about 30 seconds and then return to the surface and look there. Always tell the dive boat what's happening. Use the familiar OK sign to say that everything's all right. Any other signal will be taken as come and get me. If there's no signal, a diver could be in serious trouble. The National Diving Committee recommends a maximum depth of 50 metres, but only if you're very experienced. Otherwise, you should stay above 30 metres. If you're making several dives in a day, start with the deepest and don't do more than 3 in 24 hours. As we saw with Tricia, decompression illness, often called the bends, occurs when a diver surfaces too fast. The rapid change in pressure causes bubbles to form in the blood and tissues. It's prevented by coming up in stages, known as decompression stops. The safe rate of ascent is set down in diving tables, but you should know your own limitations and make an allowance for your age and fitness. Someone suffering from the bends may have pain in the joints, skin irritation, numbness, nausea, or even convulsions. These symptoms may not appear until several hours after a dive. They can affect a diver's judgment, so be wary if they say they're fine but seem unwell. If a diver gets the bends at sea, the Coast Guard will arrange their transfer to a recompression chamber. Inland, get them to hospital as fast as possible, and just as Alan did after Tricia's accident, they'll seek expert advice from Portsmouth Naval Base. A recompression chamber recreates the pressure at which the diver was operating. Then it reduces it over several hours, so the bubbles gradually disperse. But changing the pressure can affect the voice, so don't be worried if they sound strange. Sometimes the humour of the situation eases what can be a tense few hours.
There's more information on diving safety in the BBC 999 Lifesaver Guide. And in the time it takes me to give you the address where you can send for a copy, you can record more programme information that's also available on CFAX from this week's Data Burst. Anyway, to get a copy of the guide, send a cheque for £2.50 made payable to BBC Education to 999 Lifesaver Guide, PO Box 7, London W3 6XJ. That address and more life-saving information on CFAX, page 621. This is the Swallowfield Bypass, a stretch of the A33 just south of Reading. Like most dual carriageways, it has a maximum speed limit of 70 miles an hour, the same restriction that applies to all motorways. But unlike motorways, it also has junctions like this one, where it's perfectly legal to do a U-turn, a manoeuvre that's strictly illegal for ordinary motorway traffic. In March 1994, an accident happened at this junction that was to change Dean Milroy's life. In our reconstruction, he's played by an actor, but all the members of the emergency services involved in his rescue take part as themselves.
This computer simulation shows the movement of the driver forwards into the airbag during impact. Such computer simulation is absolutely vital in fine-tuning the airbag system to the behaviour of the vehicle in crash, and ensures that the airbag only goes off where it's absolutely necessary to prevent serious injury.
We've seen an awful lot of road traffic accidents in the job, and first impressions were that he's got to be dead with this sort of impact.
Theory is one thing, but practice is another, so we had to crash test hundreds of vehicles in our testing centre and monitor the results to ensure complete reliability of the system.
Dual carriageways which are subject to 70 miles an hour speed limit, in my opinion, shouldn't have intersections which vehicles can do U-turns on.
Dean Milroy, a computer systems salesman, had just finished his last appointment and was driving back to his home near Reading.
All of these systems work together in conjunction with the specially designed crumple zones in the vehicle body in order to make the driving environment as safe as possible.
The lorry driver could see how bad it was. He called up the emergency services on his mobile phone.
Hello, emergency service. I need an ambulance, please. There's been a very bad accident.
Luckily, the police and fire brigade were stationed just a couple of miles up the road and got there in minutes, shortly followed by an ambulance crew.
What's your name, mate? What's your name?
It's Dean.
Dean, have you hurt anywhere?
No, on your jaw.
On your jaw.
Hello.
What are we doing with?
When I arrived at the accident, obviously I thought that the driver would be dead. There wasn't really much doubt in my mind. When I actually went round to the vehicle and I saw the driver in it, and I realised he was alive, and I thought, thank God for that.
Dr. Alan Budd arrived soon after. He's part of an organisation called BASICS, a national association of doctors on emergency standby.
Dean's injuries when I did the preliminary survey was that he injured his jaw and his chest was painful, and I was very worried about his pelvis and his feet, which I couldn't really see, and I was trying to encourage the firemen to get on with the work as fast as they could.
Right, what have we got? That's insecure. I want that lashed off before anything else. I want all non-circumstantial personnel pull back from the job.
The articulated lorry involved was in a very precarious position. The load had shifted and was hanging over the vehicle, over the car with the driver in. When we've got one person trapped in the car, in that sort of situation, we don't want to then suddenly have 6 people involved in the car, trapped by the load of the lorry or the lorry itself. So therefore, the safety of the vehicle was paramount.
How far means his feet? We'll trap this side. Yep, we need to get in.
Well, we had diesel all over the road and over the lower half of the casualty, which, although diesel isn't highly flammable, we had to tread very carefully that we didn't cause sparks or arcing from the battery.
They called in a special rescue service vehicle. It carries state-of-the-art cutting and lifting equipment designed for serious road accidents.
We had to make the lorry safe first by using airbags under the back axles to lift the weight of the lorry slightly, then use hydraulic equipment to lift the body of the lorry as the suspension units were damaged, and we used wooden blocks to chock the lorry into place.
As they stabilised the lorry, it was becoming obvious that the only way they were going to get Dean out was to take off the roof of the car. This was going to be a much harder job than usual, and Dean had already been trapped for nearly an hour.
As we started to cut down through the vehicle, we found that somewhere down the bottom end of his body, the lower half of the legs, there was something really trapped. So we had to remove most of the inside of the vehicle to get right down. towards the pedals of the vehicle.
I was getting very, very anxious that we needed to get him out into hospital, and there's a great danger after an hour of some disaster happening, and I was very worried at that time that he was still trapped by his feet very securely, and we hadn't got him out.
All my instructions in? Yep. 1, 2, 3 and go? Yep.
It wasn't until we actually tried to release him from the car that he screamed out in pain, and we had to obviously stop, and we had another look, and we found that his foot was actually round behind the radio console with a bit of metal actually sticking into his foot.
Further investigation, we found that a piece of metal had gone through the floor of the car and actually gone through his big toe and pushed the bone of his big toe up into behind the dashboard, which meant that we had to take everything apart to get his foot out without causing any further injury.
It took an hour and a half to get him out. During the next 3 months, he underwent a series of complex operations on his leg, foot and jaw.
The recovery process over a period of time, such as just over a year, is very slow for the individual. However, once you get high up on that physical mending cycle and start to plateau and everything goes a bit slower, I think then that's when you start to become a little bit more cognizant of the mental side of things, and you get upset and you get worried and depressed and such like, and just fearful for the future.
It's important to remember with a passenger airbag, if you're using a child seat, that the seat must be facing in the forward position, not rearward facing, because this would place the baby's head too close to the airbag.
When I was quite young, I was lucky enough to go to America, and airbags were commonplace over there, and I wish that it could become commonplace over here many years ago, because it could have saved so many more people's lives.
I know for a fact, and I think this will be endorsed by the various specialists who were on the scene, they've all, in fact, mentioned to me that I certainly wouldn't be here if it weren't for that one feature. Albeit steering wheels and other front fascia are padded. When you hit that with your head at that sort of speed, you're not going to survive in many cases without something like this.
It was rather remarkable on that day that having attended this accident, that in the morning I'd actually just purchased a car which my wife mainly uses for long motorway trips, and this car actually had an airbag, and it's the first time I've had a car with an airbag, so it was very appropriate, and I felt really elated about that and pleased that the family would be safe.
This is the electrical checkout system, or ECOS. During this process, the test module is connected up to the vehicle's electrical system. And all of the
Dean has still got a way to go, but the more he's learnt about the accident, the more he's come to terms with his injuries. He asked 999 to tell his story.
I just feel that I haven't taken enough notice on how important life is. It's almost as though everyone in the world needs a bad accident to happen, a near family, to realise the value of life.
This oar is used to steer a surf boat, and believe me, it's not an easy job. When this boat hits the water, it takes the skill and strength of an experienced sweep to do the business. The local expert here at the Perranporth Surf Patrol is Peter Gaisford. He's also responsible for encouraging sporting competition here in Britain as a means of attracting people to the sport and also keeping them fit for the job. A regional and national organiser, Peter's considered one of the great ambassadors of surf life-saving.
I think the lifeguard's a bit of an unsung hero, really. Everybody has the picture postcard image, or the classic Baywatch, I suppose, image, but a lifeguard's job is bloody hard work. It really is. When you've got a sea full of people, there's quite a bit of stress.
trying to encourage them to stay in the area that you want them to swim in. The IRB's been the best. It's the best piece of equipment that any beach could have, providing it's done to Australian specs, roller rope, proper nose rope, prop guard. You can't beat it in surf. In really nippy, quick, pick up your patient and you're out and back. A good crew can get out through major surf in an IRB.
Got out to the brake line and just got hit by a huge wall of wave. Just spun me over, top over tail, straight over the back. And then one of the lifeguards came along and grabbed me. So I was quite glad to see him there because it was a bit hairy out there.
This board's in for repair. This is a standard rescue board that the lifeguards use on the majority of the beaches. The boards either come in during the summer if they're desperately needed by the guards, or usually I get them at the end of the season. These boards and skis have been refined into racing versions and are used in competition by lifeguards.
Okay, ski race!
I worked 6 years as a professional lifeguard. I've always enjoyed the competitive side of it. It's a good adrenaline rush sometimes in big surf. It is the toughest guy that can get out. Competition is important because I feel that a lifeguard should be fit and able to do the job that he's been asked to do. If you're in a rescue situation, if I'm a patient, I want someone who can get to me quickly. So now I run competitions. We run what we call twilight competitions. There are no prizes or anything, it's more or less a training exercise for a lot of them. Now I've got into surf boats, which is that is a pretty frightening event, really. Surf boats came out of the whalers, the old whalers in Australia. So in big seas, they needed to find a way of getting out through surf.
The sweep, the man who steers, takes total control of where the boat's going, and all we do is row, just like an engine room, really. We have faith in him, he has faith in us, really. That's the way it works, isn't it?
You've not got time to worry about what's behind you. You've just got to worry about looking at your blade in the water. Making sure that you don't catch a crab or wash out. When the big waves come, you've just got to make sure that your blade doesn't get caught by them.
It's now a sport within surf life saving in its own right. At the last count, I've managed to destroy two oars and one sweep oar, which is the most expensive sport I think I've ever been in. Big surf deserves respect. It's just like the fishermen and the guys who are in the RNLI. When you start getting into big surf, big seas, then you give it the respect it deserves, because it's a pretty fickle animal, the sea. It may look quite inviting in one moment, and the next minute it can just turn and you've got yourself a major rescue on your hands within seconds.
That last wave, it picked us up, and I thought the water was starting to come up over the nose of the boat, and I thought, well, this could be really serious, but it just managed to pop out, and then we roller coasted along. It was not our day. Never mind. Oh, that's surf, isn't it? This is the bane of my life, this thing. This is the line that holds the swimming buoys.